Yo, what is up? I don't know why every time I do these videos I'm like, yo. I don't know why I look like I'm annoyed, but I'm not. Anyway, I am here for another ranting video, I guess you could say. Yeah, we'll go with that. And this one is gonna be interesting. Like this one probably won't be as long as my other ones, hopefully. But yeah, I actually got done watching a movie last night. And this movie kind of like made me think like, you know what? I should make a video about it. And the movie in question is Never Say Never Again. Now, if you don't know what Never Say Never Again is, it's a James Bond movie. Now I know what you're thinking. Wait, I've never heard of this movie, and I've watched James Bond movies. I've never heard of this. Well, that's because this one's more of an obscure title, and I want to kind of give my honest opinions over the movie. I know there's probably tons of videos on YouTube already covering this movie, so I'm just adding to redundancy. But I want to give my honest opinions on it because I just finished watching it again last night, and yeah. So to start things off, I want to say out front that I'm not gonna look at this as an official Bond movie because I personally don't think it's fair to I don't think it's fair to compare it with the likes of Doctor No, GoldenEye, Casino, like Spectre, movies like those. Like I don't think it's fair to compare it to those. And the reason for that is because really, when you look at this movie and watch it, Never Say Never Again, in essence, is just a retelling of Thunderball, except done much more mediocre. This is a mediocre version of Thunderball to summarize it. Pretty much. And I think the best way to look at this particular movie is not as a James Bond movie, but more so a James Bond parody, which is how I view it. And honestly, as a parody, looking at it like that, I think this movie passes. It's passable. I mean, it's wacky, yeah, and I mean, me. I mean, I've literally watched every James Bond movie, including this one. I've watched them all. So, and I've seen Thunderball. So when I watch this, it's like I can't help but thinking of Thunderball. But that's what happens. I mean, they use the same. I mean, it's Thunderball right down to the Bond actor Sean Connery. This is actually Sean Connery's final appearance as James Bond. His final official appearance as James Bond was in Diamonds Are Forever, but Never Say Never Again would be his last time playing the character James Bond. And actually have to say, Connery in this movie, he actually looks pretty good considering he's an old bag in this movie. Okay. That's not to disrespect the man. I absolutely love Connery. He's pretty much my favorite Bond actor ever. So I can't really hate on the man. I'm just saying that for the age he was during the shooting of this movie, he looks really good and well put together. I have to say. So that's really good. But anyway, so that's all that. Uh, I guess some other things is that this movie, like I said, it's passable as a parody. You know, as far as James Bond stuff goes, it's kind of not the kind the thing you would expect in a Bond movie. Okay, sorry about that. My phone rang. Solicitors, you hate to see. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. This isn't what you would really expect out of a Bond movie. I would say it's a lot wackier. Like I don't know. It's like I almost want to say it's like Connery trying to be like a Roger Moore film. You know how Roger Moore is sort of the like more a more light-hearted take on Bond. Like obviously, yeah, he still has a serious moments and action and whatnot, but his movies particularly involve a lot more gag humor. Uh, like characters like Sheriff J.W. Pepper, who like from Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun. You wouldn't necessarily see him in the likes of a Sean Connery movie. So Yeah, that's kind of what I see here with Never Say Never Again. It's kind of like it's like Sean Connery trying to be like Roger Moore, which makes sense. During the time of Never Say Never Again, there was this big dispute of like I think it was like over the rights to use Blofeld's name in the Bond movie, which appears in again in Thunderball, I believe. Yeah, because there's a man. Let me just take a look at the back of the cartridge. This is what's good about having the actual box, the actual case for the movie, and not just digital. You can actually see information on here. So yeah. So this is like produced by I guess a man called Kevin McClory, who at the time was having some legal disputes over the use of certain assets in movies. Um, so yeah, hence why, and this was because of Thunderball. This is over Thunderball. Hence why this movie is just another retelling of Thunderball. Of course, we all know who did it better, but I'm not going to go into that dispute. I don't know the whole legal jargon over it. I don't know all that specifics. I just watched the movie, so I'm just here to tell you what I personally think of it. And I think that as a parody of a James Bond movie, this actually is passable. If you look at this as a James Bond movie, this is very mediocre. I'm sorry, but it's just like there's only like really one scene in that movie that I actually really like, and that's the big fight in the health clinic between Bond and this big strong guy. I personally think that's the best part of the movie, in my honest opinion. Everything else is just like, meh. I mean, it's like it's nothing to write home about. Like, and by no means am I calling this a terrible movie. It's like I just said at the beginning of this video. It's not really fair to like put this next to an official James Bond movie because it really isn't, and it would really do this a huge disservice. And again, I'm not here to hate on it. I'm certain this movie has its fair share of followers. I'm sure there are people out there who watch this and think this is probably the best movie about James Bond ever made. And you know what? To those people, I give you all the power. You know, that's perfectly acceptable. If you like this movie a lot, then just watch till the cows come home. I'm not gonna stop you. As for me, well, let's be honest. I'll definitely take this over Quantum of Solace. Now that's a movie I hate, but I'm not gonna get into that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's passable. I mean, Connery, he does a good job in this movie. I think he does a good job acting. The villain, the main villain, Largo. He's pretty dull. I have to say. I mean, he's very forgettable. I definitely can never remember the guy who plays him. I can never remember his name. So I guess that speaks volumes to Largo as a villain in this movie. But yeah, it's just a mediocre telling of Thunderball. And like it's not to say it being a parody, a mediocre parody of a really good Bond movie is a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There are plenty of other parodies of things and like stuff. It's like this is like the Sonic Genesis of James Bond in a way. Now, for people who don't know, Sonic Genesis is a really messed up port of the original Sonic the Hedgehog on the Genesis. And I'm not saying Never Say Never Again is that bad. I'm just saying that's something I can compare it to. Like Sonic Genesis is a port of Sonic 1. It's a port that people know about and probably don't have very high opinions of, but they know of it. And like there are people who will play it. That's kind of how I look at Never Say Never Again. It's a parody that's not something I'd write home about, but it's also not something I'm gonna cry foul over and like, tear this room apart. Like, ah, man, this movie sucks. I hate it. This movie's trash. If you like this thing, then you have serious issues. It's like, I'm not gonna throw a whole hissy fit over this movie. I watch it. there's some things that I just don't get. Some things that I'm like, I really didn't need to be in the movie. But there are some things that I can go back and be like, that was actually pretty good. So it's a hit or miss, really. It's a hit or a miss. It's how I can best describe Never Say Never Again. And yeah, what was I about to say? Oh yeah. I guess one thing I can kind of criticize is I kind of don't like the portrayal of M in this movie. I mean, I know M is supposed to be like this, like just hard, tough-skinned, like boss to James Bond. He's like the only real person that can rein James Bond in, right? Like he's the only person that can like bring this man down to earth. Like he like M is like the one person he's like M is the last person Bond would even dare joke about, I guess. And like I get that's his character, but the way this movie portrays M is that he just has absolutely zero faith in Bond's abilities at all. I actually think there's a line in the movie where M pretty much straight up admits that like he has no faith in Bond. And it's just like, dude, I like M. Why you gotta make him seem like a heartless jerk? And it's just like now and like now he at some point he's forced to reinstate the double O section. Like now he's trying to suck up to Bond and like dude, you had no faith in the man this entire adventure. Don't you start kissing up to him now. And of course I'm not gonna hate on the man that played M in this movie. I'm not gonna hate on him. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But just the character, I just don't like how they portrayed M in this movie. It's just like no, no, easily my least favorite M. But again, this is not an official Bond movie, so it gets brownie points for being trash. It gets brownie points. This isn't an official Bond movie, so it gets a pass for not being a Bond movie. I guess to better explain that, it's like you know, I don't think like Bond. I don't think gets like a gadget car. He has like this motorcycle that has rocket engines, but that's like the closest thing we get to a gadget vehicle, uh, in this entire movie. So excuse me. But yeah, like he doesn't really get a whole lot of gadgets if I remember correctly in this movie. I think he has like he has an exploding pen, a watch laser, and I forget if he has something else, but those are like the main two that come to mind. But yeah, I mean the title song is something. I'm not gonna say I hate the title song, but I also won't say I like it. But it's something. It actually kind of gives me that classic R&B soul type of vibes. Like if you listen to it, you'll get what I mean. But yeah, so in that realm, I'm kind of a sucker for it. For those of you who don't know, my favorite genre of music is probably old school R&B and soul. I really like those. They're just chill. They're just chill stuff to listen to. But yeah. What else can I talk about? There's not really a whole lot to talk about this movie. Uh oh, I mean, and this I say, even if this movie is just a retelling of Thunderball, it's unique enough in the sense that it distinguishes it as its own separate movie. Actually, this might be a very divided topic, but I actually like the way they handled the title sequence of this movie. There's actually no James Bond theme or gun barrel sprinkled anywhere in this movie, but I actually like how they handled the title scene in the sense that they show essentially what is the pre-title sequence, but they play the actual opening credits over that, and I actually really like that. I don't know, it just seems like a very unique and interesting concept that doesn't really get used all that much. I mean, I guess you could use the opening to Casino Royale, where Craig, the whole flashback of Bond getting his first two kills to be a double O, and how it just funnels into the gun barrel and title scene, the title song. I guess you could count that, but it doesn't go to this extent. Is what I'm trying to say, and that's actually a really interesting concept, and that's one thing I can't take away from this movie. It's that it had an interesting concept. Okay, I assume they knew like they couldn't really get a big budget James Bond film out of this. Probably, I don't know, and so they just did what they could. And what we got was not the best, but it was not the worst. It was average at best, and meh at worst. I'm not gonna call Never Say Never Again a bad movie. There's probably someone out there who will, but I'm not gonna do it. I'll call it a parody. This isn't a James Bond movie. Not saying that's a bad thing, but this is a James Bond parody, and I think that's how people should look at this movie. If you were to watch this, so that if you were to watch this, so you don't feel, like, oh, what did I sign up for? I thought this was gonna be a unique James Bond adventure. This is just Thunderball, except done much worse. No, 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 no. If you go in with that mentality, then yeah, you're gonna be looking at this movie the wrong way. I think the best way to look at this is not as a James Bond movie. Don't just because you see this, just because you see Sean Connery on there, just because you see him, don't go into this expecting a Sean Connery James Bond movie. Uh, because if you do, you're gonna be disappointed. I'm sorry, you're gonna be disappointed. But instead, look at this as a parody of Thunderball, a very mediocre parody, yes, but a parody nonetheless. And I guarantee that's going to lighten up your criticisms. It's going to lighten up your expectations a bit because it's like, oh, okay, it's just a parody, so this really is this. I'm not really expecting this to be that good then. So because after all, it's just a parody. What can they do? So I think that's my personal opinion on this movie. I find it passable as a parody. Um, but that's just me. If you have different opinions on this movie, comment down below. Tell me what you think of it. Tell me how tell me how this movie either excites you or depresses you. I don't know. Or if you're indifferent to it, then oh well. But like I said, if you like this movie, then watch it. Watch it. I'm I'm sure this audience. If you've never shown a person a James Bond movie before in their life, like if they don't know anything and they you could show them this movie. This isn't what James Bond is, but you could show them this movie, and it's like this is essentially what James Bond is like, except it's a lot more serious, a lot more grittier in tone. You know, but like this is more so like about as basic of an example as what James Bond pretty much is in a sense. And yeah. So and oh yeah, also the locations they go to is rather interesting. Like I said, it's Thunderball at its core, but it's different enough to be its own thing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's different. It's like when people play Sonic 3 and Knuckles, right? You play through Sonic's story, you play through Tails, and then you go to Knuckles. More than often, you'll see people play through Sonic's story in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and then they jump to Knuckles. Well, what about Tails? Tails is just one-to-one Sonic. Although I think does Tails go to Death Egg? I don't remember. But Tails is pretty much one-to-one Sonic. But Knuckles, he also goes through the same. They all go through the same levels. I think Sonic is the only one that goes to Death Egg, but they all go through Angel Island to Sky Sanctuary. And but yeah, Knuckles goes from Angel Island to Sky Sanctuary. So he has the same levels. But yet people play Knuckles as well. Why? Because Knuckles has just enough differences in its gameplay and levels that warrants a second playthrough. Knuckles, he can glide, he can climb walls. He can take certain paths that Sonic and/or Tails can't, making his levels shorter. His boss fights are actually harder, considering he can't jump as high as Sonic and/or Tails. So, he has enough differences in his playthrough to make it unique and stand out. That's the same way with a Never Say Never Again. I mean, yeah, it's the same plot as Thunderball, but there's enough in this movie to distinguish it aside from Thunderball. And you don't have to watch this. You can watch Thunderball and be good. That's it. Like, you don't have to see this. So it is what it is. And so again, to say, my personal opinion is that this movie is passable as a parody. I don't look at this as an official James Bond movie. I don't think I ever can. I don't think I ever can look at it as a James Bond movie officially. I will forever associate this as a parody. So, yeah. And that's not to say like this being a parody is a bad thing. There's other like around like the 50s. There's like a whole bunch of Casino Royale spoofs where like one of the more notable ones is like they feature a whole bunch of people named James Bond. So Bond parodies have been a thing, people. This is just like, I guess, the newest one, I guess, so to speak. The lighting in this room is really hindering showing this. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, like, it's just a parody. I can't really get mad at a parody. That just seems really redundant and stupid. Why would I get mad over a parody? So that's pretty much all I got for this video. Yeah, I just want to give my little 2 cents on my personal thoughts on the movie. Like, cause like I said, I actually watched this last night. Um, oh yeah, by the way, I paid $17 for this at a used video store. I just want to point that I paid $17 for this movie. Of course, I'm gonna watch it and give my opinions on it. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so overall, it's a passable movie. Do I hate it? No. Do I love it? No, not really. I'm just more of in the middle. I'm just in the middle. Like I said, there are some points to it that I like, and there are some points to it that lose me. So, yeah. So yeah, that's all I got for this video. This probably was a really, really terrible. I've never like done a whole like review over a movie before, so this was probably really terrible and very uninformative. But it is what it is. That's what you subscribed for. Really terrible and mediocre videos by yours truly. I try my best, I swear. But anyway, that's enough about me. Yeah, I'll see you all the next time I decide to upload a video. Oh, by the way, actually, speaking of videos, I probably won't be uploading as much in the future, mainly because I actually got a job. Yeah, I actually got hired for a job. I'm gonna start the 31st. My phone is ringing once again. I'll be right back. And I'm back. That time it was my mother calling. But anyway, so yeah. This movie, passable parody. If you like it, watch it till the cows come home. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Connery is my favorite James Bond actor after all, so there is some solace in that. I can watch Connery. And like I said, he looks good. He does a good job as Bond. His performance is not half bad. So, that's all I got. Oh, right, that's what I was saying. So yeah, as far as uploading in the future, yeah, I got hired for a job. I start the 31st, and I applied and got approved for an apartment. So I have to sign a lease and start getting ready to move my stuff over there. So that's probably going to take up probably going to take up a lot of my time. So I most likely won't be able to upload videos as often. And for anybody for anybody who watches my Twitch channel, my Twitch streams, I probably won't be able to stream as much either, because again, I gotta, well, look at it. I gotta move this. I gotta move this stuff to my apartment. Okay, okay. Obviously, I'm not gonna move all of this, but the bare essentials like my computers, my bed that you can't see, my dresser you can't see, and my TV, stuff like that. I'm gonna move, but so yeah, that's kind of the schedule. Tomorrow if I have time, I might stream on Twitch, but it'll be a short stream. That's only if I have time tomorrow. But I know Wednesday and Thursday especially, I will not have any time because we gotta get stuff set, packed, and finalized and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't. I felt the need to include that. Anyway, that's about it. All I got for this this video. So I'll see you in the next one. I'll next time I upload a stream, I'll probably be in a new apartment. So the background might change a bit. So be prepared for that. So yeah. Uh, like, comment, subscribe, I guess. Uh, and thank you for watching. So, peace.